welcome to the show. I am David Swift of the Acolyte Realty Group. I'm a licensed realtor in Georgia and Alabama, and your host for all things real estate. Now, we have a great show lined up for you today, so please be sure to watch to the end. Don't miss out on anything. But before we get started, let me give a shout out to my faithful supporters. These guys here support me in the things that I do, and I support them in what they do. And if you would like to get a shout out here in my show, please reach out to me and I will get you hooked up. Now, if you are watching this through Facebook, please be sure to like and share so that we get all this content out to everybody that we can. And if you're watching this through YouTube, then please like and subscribe. That's right, folks. Now, my guest for today, his name is Wes Holland, but he goes by the Credit Goat, and he is a certified credit specialist, repair specialist, and he also provides financial literacy and many other services. So let's get into this and pick his brain. Let's see what he's got to share with us today. So let me get him on. Hang on one moment. Hey, Wes, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I am good, brother. I sure do appreciate you taking the time tonight to chisel out a little bit of time to share your wealth of knowledge with us today. As I've already mentioned before, our topic today is credit and credit repair for home buyers, more importantly, first-time home buyers.
Right.
But before we get into any and all of that, I do want people to know who you are and kind of a little bit of your background. So just kind of tell us about who Wes Holland is and what you like to do for fun, your family life, and kind of how you got into the credit repair business.
Okay, yeah. First, thanks for having me. Always like to share the knowledge I have and help people. Pretty simple guy, to be honest. I'm a father of two. I've been a single father for about 12 years now. Have an 18-year-old daughter who goes to the University of Cincinnati. I have a 16-year-old son who is a sophomore at Lakeview High School. Pretty simple in the fact that my hobbies, I like sports. I read a lot, love history. A lot of the things I like to do, photography, and obviously with the kids, we were always into sports and different things like that. So really, I'm a simple person who just spends quality time with the kids and work. That's really all about all I do.
Work and family, huh?
Yeah. So it's a pretty simple matrix. Being a single dad when my kids, were smaller, it was really hands-on. So a lot of it just translated into like my normal life of just, single father duties and, working and things like that. So as they've gotten older, it's still, I have more time, but that's pretty much still all I do.
Yeah, value it when you can, because at some point they won't be around as much as you want them to be.
Oh yeah, like when she started college, that was definitely a transition for all of us because we've never really been apart much. So one, for her to go to college, be away from me, but also be away from her brother. So there was a little bit of a transition that took place. But she's thriving there, doing really good. She's got a 3.9 GPA. She's on the what's it called, the dean's list and different things like that. So she really enjoyed it there. So I support her, and it's just really just about her, getting further education and being able to do the things she wants to do in life. So,
Well, what's her major?
Psychology.
Psychology. Okay.
Yeah. So she'll have, she almost graduated high school with an associate. She was only a few credits away. So even though she's a freshman, when they go back in the fall after the first semester, she'll already have her associate's degree. So She's about a year ahead of where, most people are her age because she's only 18. So she'll probably have a bachelor's within 3 years and then have to do 2 years of internship and things like that. So the program she has is about 5 years. So she's got a little while longer, but she's very much ahead of schedule.
Now, has your other daughter? Does she got plans yet?
So AJ, he's the musician. He wants to do music school. He plays piano. He's got interest in guitar, things like that. So he's wanting to do more of the musical field, things of that nature. So we'll just kind of see when that time comes where that goes, because he's more of into the music, not so into the school.
Right. You got to support them, whichever, where, because I mean, you can touch a lot of lives through music too. So,
Oh yeah, he loves, and I don't know where he gets his music inclination from, because it's not me at all. But he taught himself how to play piano, so he can play by ear. So he doesn't necessarily read sheet music, but he
right.
can listen to it and then play it. And so that's kind of, he broke his leg a few years back, and that become his thing to do, and he's just kind of stuck with it. So I've supported him just like I would if it was like basketball or football or something of that
Right.
nature.
Awesome. So, you did mention sports yourself. What kind of sports do you like to do?
Yeah, so really, I played baseball and basketball in high school, but baseball is kind of my first love. Basketball is something I still do now. Football, obviously I'm a huge Georgia fan, so I love football. And I play golf, things like that. So it's kind of a variety of different sports that I enjoy.
Okay. So, as we kind of mentioned earlier, you're in the credit repair business, so you weren't always uh, the credit goat. So,
Right.
kind of give us just a short summary of what you used to do and how you transitioned into doing what you do now.
Yeah, so prior to the credit repair company and having my own business, I was a store manager for several different places. Badcock Furniture. There was PetSmart. I ran a Dollar General when I was about 28. I was one of the youngest ones in the whole Big South region at the time. I think I was the youngest. I went to Comcast. I was in sales. I've worked for ADT in sales. So I've got a very strong professional background. And I was with Comcast for 5 years. And in 2017, they had just gave us a promotion for some of us that August. So I just got a promotion to become sales trainer, different things like that. They gave me more responsibility. Well, come that same December, they laid off everybody that just got a promotion. Basically. So that happened really unexpectedly. And it was 2 weeks before Christmas in 2017.
Wow.
So there was no notice, anything like that. We actually thought we were going on a call for like a marketing with the vice president of marketing and different things like that. We actually get in the conference room, and there's like a little call box on the table, and the person was like, talking about the changes in the market, and we're like, yeah, we're expecting to hear good things about
Right.
something like that. And he basically was like, and unfortunately, with that, if you're on this call, you no longer have a job. We'll turn it over to your local HR. And we were all like,
Wow, that is a slap in the face.
yeah. So they gave me a decent severance, but going into like the holidays, it was a real kind of painful time because it was so unexpected. Obviously, being a single parent of 2 kids, I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? I knew I could probably get a job in the professional field because I had a strong resume, but I was kind of like, I want to bet on myself. I've always wanted to do my own thing, but I was comfortable. So I never really pursued it in a way because I was making good money, had a decent career, felt like the job was stable, and so ultimately I just really decided to bet on myself. And then here we are, 5 years later. So it's kind of started out, honestly, it was going to be more business consulting, but there was such a huge need for credit repair that I had people that I talked with that I was helping kind of mentoring with some of the stuff that I had learned through the years. And really that just took off. And the more I educated myself and done courses and classes and certifications, that became the primary aspect of business because there wasn't a lot of credit repair specialists 5 years ago the way it is kind of now.
Right.
We were some of the, first ones in the area. There was other people in the Chattanooga area, but there wasn't like a lot of them, right? So it wasn't oversaturated. And my whole thing was I wanted to educate people to help them not make mistakes that I made, but also help them with everyday life. Everybody needs credit, whether it's for jobs, homes, vehicles. And so as time went on, my niche became first-time home buyers because what I realized was not only do most people that are first-time home buyers need a little bit of help with credit, they didn't have education on even how the home buying process worked. So the more I worked with people, the more referrals I got, that become what I call my people. So that's kind of my niche is, even though I help people in all walks of life, primarily it's set up for home buyers. So that way that they can purchase a home, get out of the market, start gaining equity, and start building, assets over liabilities.
Okay, and you said that was 2017 when.
Yeah,
it's Holland Consulting is the name of the company, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I started that January of 2018.
Okay. So how did the credit go? Give me a little short story on that. How that little nickname.
So this is really funny. When I first started out, I started with a business partner and it failed. And so we were like 6 months in, right? And so I was like, I don't know, do I want to quit? Do I want to keep doing this? I've invested so much into another business. And me and my best friend were literally sitting on the couch. And this is a hilarious story. So at that time, again, keep in mind, we're big sports guys. So we're going back and forth, and I'm trying, I want to create like a page because I started noticing that every business, they had their business, but then they had a business page with like a catchphrase or something that they were recognized by for marketing and branding. And so I was getting frustrated because everything that I was thinking of was taken already. And so I'm not real creative when it comes to that. So my best friend's sitting there and I'm like, dude, are you even listening to me? Because he wasn't even looking at me. He was on his phone. He was like, what about the credit go? I was like, what? He was like, what? Everybody wants to be the GOAT of something. He's like, you got the debate
all time.
And so at first I was like, I don't like that. That's not good. And I'm in my phone, but I'm like, but it's available.
Hey.
So I sat there for a minute and I'm like, that may work. And then honest to God, it really took off way bigger than what I ever thought. People started calling me the GOAT. They wouldn't even know real, but they would know the credit GOAT. And so I'm glad that did take place the way it did. But that's the kind of funny story how that actually come about. So it was.
I mean, they may not remember your name unless they start working with you a lot, but that you can remember the credit GOAT. I mean, that's just so that worked out to your benefit.
It did, and it's hilarious to think that it was just really something that we were just on the couch and couldn't figure out anything else. And I tell people it kind of found me.
Right. Yeah, because it was kind of like a joke. Your friend was saying it, but actually, no, that makes sense. I like it.
Right, and then it's just kind of stuck ever since. And then had my logo made and everything. So it's really been a blessing because it's catchy. It's something people will remember. But at the time, like I say, there wasn't a lot of people doing credit repair, so it immediately took. And probably one of the best decisions I made.
That's awesome. So I did a little research on you, and so before we get into me shooting you some questions, I see you've actually your company you've actually won a few awards.
I have.
Okay, so you want to tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah. So last year, 2022, I won top credit repair business in Chattanooga from a company called Expertise.com. And what they do is they vet all of the companies for your license, everything like that, compare you to other industry standards, make sure you're compliant with everything. And they have a real stringent process that they select. And I was the only one selected in Chattanooga for that last year. I also got the Chattanooga Award for best credit repair business in Chattanooga. And then this year they renewed and gave me the 2023 for Expertise.com as well. So I've got back-to-back awards through them for my credit repair business.
That's awesome. Especially, I mean, yeah, you're a few years in, almost 5 years in, but you've already, gained a lot of recognition. So you're obviously doing good work and helping people.
And like I tell people, the awards come as a complete surprise. I remember last year when somebody contacted me and it was Expertise. I remember they contacted me and how they question you and all that. And I'm thinking oh, that was cool. I didn't think anything of it. And then when they actually did the award, maybe 4 months later, when they contacted me, I was completely floored because I had forgot that I even talked to them.
Right.
And like I tell people, the awards and the accolades are great, but really, I just really care about helping people. So I feel like as long as I continue to do good work and I'm able to help people achieve their goals, that's what is most important. And then I feel like the accolades and everything on the back end are just, from doing good, honest work.
That's awesome. And so, kind of leading our way into some questions. So, your primary niche, as we said, was first time home buyers. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what we're, the avenue that we're gonna walk right now.
Okay.
So, and you said that you work with a lot of realtors and a lot of lenders. So my question would be, how many people that actually come to you are just poorly educated when it comes to credit, no fault of their own, but just
Yeah. So
what percentage would you
honestly,
say?
it's a large amount of them. And what I found is whether they're somebody that have a very limited credit profile, even people that are like 600s, even some people in 700s, they may know enough to do a little bit, but most people, honestly, probably 90% of people that come to me have no clue of what credit really is, how to utilize it, how to maximize it, how they're supposed to use it. And it's just, I truly believe it's because it's not taught in any real education system. So,
That's what I was going to say. Not pointing a finger at anybody, but that should be financing and credit, things like that should be a standard classroom, something that would be taught in the school systems.
oh yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I am working on, it's been a little while in the process, but part of what I do, I speak to a lot of high school seniors. I have some connections where I've spoken at several different schools, different events and things like that. And one of the things I personally am trying to work on is get something through some of the local school systems to whether it's like an after school program, maybe on a Saturday or even after hours of school, is like a credit and financial literacy program to where the kids could volunteer if they chose to come. I can come help and teach them different things because it really goes hand in hand with adulthood. And there's so many people that go into college, go into, they may go to work, they may go to the Air Force or Navy or, military, things like that, but they're really not prepared for adult life. Prime example is when we did the walkthrough at Cincinnati with my daughter. All the parents got to kind of go and eat and experience a day in the life of the kids. And so we're like sitting at a table and a couple of the parents are talking about they worry about their kids because they've never done anything on their own, never had even a job. And they come to a point where we're kind of telling each other what we do and things like that. And I mentioned what I do. And so I'm giving them some tips on things that could help their students that don't really have any experience with money at all, basically, right? And come to find out the parents don't really have the education to teach the kids, and it's not their fault. But that was when I really realized, like, hey, there is an immediate need for kids that are going off you may be 2 states over going to college, or you could be across the country, and that could be a hard transition. So I definitely think the disconnect is we should really be teaching financial literacy in middle school, at least the starting points to work your way up to it, because you got to keep in mind a lot of kids are 18 and they're like still in high school, their senior year and graduating. At 18, you should already start to build your credit profile. So they should have more preparedness leading up to 18 so they know what to do at 18.
Absolutely. So I guess it'd be a good time to ask this question. So why is it so important to know your credit score to start off? It's a 2-part question. So why is it so important for individuals to know what the credit score is?
Yeah. So the first thing I can say is because without it, like you really can't these days, and it's getting more prevalent, but you really can't do anything without a credit score. Whether it's purchasing a vehicle, renting an apartment, getting furniture, getting a credit card, getting cell phones in your own name. Now, even getting jobs or even promotions. I know people, especially with some of the bigger companies and corporations, they could be with the company 10 years. And if you don't have good credit, they're not going to allow you to get certain promotions because they're going to think you're a liability. Is it 100% accurate? No. But like I tell people, when it comes to jobs and important positions, the credit score is really like an adult's report card of who you are, how you pay your bills, how do you manage your money. And so from a business perspective, when it comes to jobs, and I think this is something that not enough people talk about, is that they reflect that to if you have financial issues or you can't pay your bills, they correlate that to saying, hey, you might be more at risk to do something illegal or steal from the company or do things to generate money because you don't have a good financial backing. So there's a lot of reasons why, but really you should always know, because you never know when you're going to need something that you don't have the money saved to do. And that's where credit comes in hand. So not only should you be steady building credit and paying attention to your credit, but in emergency situations, that becomes your lifeline.
Right. So I'm going to talk about myself for a minute, and then somebody that I know, an affiliate that I know. So like my generation, I grew up, cash is king.
Yep.
So everything, make good money, work hard, but cash is king. Like go out and pay cash for something, $5,000-$10,000. You save up the money, and so you're smart enough with your money, but like you were explaining, that really, there's no, people can't see how you manage your money. There's no tracking system, if you will. And that's kind of like what a credit score does. It's like, okay, well, they're good at paying their bills. They're good at, their debt to income ratio. But so for somebody like me, and like I also, somebody that I know, millionaire status.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
he's, pays for everything cash.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But credit score is not, like somebody that, only makes $100,000 a year or $60,000 a year. They've got, someone like that may have a, 750 or 800, where his credit score is not that, because he doesn't pay it. That's not important to him.
Right. Yeah.
But most people are not millionaire status, especially
right.
people that me and you work with in our industry. So,
right.
But so to kind of add to that, for people like me that grew up in that generation, which, now I understand, I learned the hard way. And so now I have credit cards and I do things, even though I could go out and pay cash, I do it, I pay it, the minimal payment, I use the credit cards the right way. I had to be taught the right way to use a credit card to build up credit. But so for somebody like me and for my generation that, okay, now I want to buy a house, I've got money, and they come to you, what would you tell them?
Yeah. So first off, I really explained to them, you have to understand the history of credit, right? So for people from the 50s and 60s, 70s, it was like legitimately like who So you all know the local bank. There wasn't as many nationwide organizations and things like that. You had credit at your local grocery stores, gas stations, hardware stores, banks and things like that was built off a personal relationship. There wasn't a credit institution, credit scores or anything at that time. So for a lot of like people your age, and you don't have the knowledge because it literally didn't exist. Your parents couldn't teach you something that wasn't there. The credit system that we have now has only been around since the 80s. So it's still relatively young. So I explained to them at first, like, don't feel bad about knowing what you don't know, because nobody was there to teach you, because it literally didn't exist in the form it is today. The second part is I teach them and I tell them honestly, like, you have to just start establishing a little bit of credit, because what happens is when you pay cash for everything, like you say, it doesn't give anybody a history to know how you manage your money. And there's a big misconception to where, like, if you can pay cash for everything, that's different, but not many people can go buy a $400,000 home cash. With the cost of living, with the cost of real estate going up, vehicles costing more, the whole pay for cash thing is really becoming just like an elite status. So the first thing they have to do is they have to start building some type of credit rapport with companies, whether it be credit cards or even like the local bank, get a, like a secured card or something just to start with. And it doesn't take a long time to start building that profile, because the good thing is you have the money to pay your bills on time. You have the money to pay everything to start getting the process started, right? The second part about that is they have to fundamentally change the way that they've been taught about money. So just like the guy that's got $1 million, you can go and get $1 million worth of credit and still keep your $1 million in the bank and use other people's money and just keep reinvesting it. That's how the ultra rich become ultra rich. They're not always using their own money. So while it's good if you have it, but think about this, if something was to happen, do you really want to be in a position where you have to drain your funds and then you have no credit at the same time? So credit is really one part really protection against emergencies and things like that. But the second part is, like I say, I've had many clients that are, because of the real estate boom over the last 2 years, they might have been in a home for 25 years and they've not even touched their credit because they own a home already. So they had a real rude awakening when they were learning that if I sell my home, I'm going to have trouble, even though I have cash to put down on another home, I don't have the credit. So again, it's just teaching them, the fundamentals of restarting credit, the importance of it, and the fact that from the time you're, 18 to the time you're not here anymore, you're always going to have a credit score, and you actively have to work on that, because if you just let it sit idle, then all the good information, just like the bad, does go away, but you may be left in a situation in the future to where now you don't even have a credit score. So just teaching them actively little things to build a score, because like I tell people, honestly, the habits bring the scores. So you just have to have a couple good credit habits, learn how to pay on accounts, the importance of what accounts to have, and really just start building credit.
Yeah, and see, and that's the thing too, is whether people want to admit it or say that they like it, some might not, but that credit score, that's a number. It used to be like our social security number, but
right,
that is how we're tracked. But as individuals, we'll talk about Americans because we're Americans, but Americans are tracked by their credit score to show, like we said, how what kind of person you are, how good are you with money. And I know we're talking primarily about, home buyers, but just sidestep for, like, say, a millionaire that doesn't have a credit score, other businesses that he may want to, be in business with, if he doesn't have a good credit score, I don't care if you, got all kinds of cash in the bank. Right. I don't have no proof that, you're good at spending your money. Right. So I may not want to do business with you. So
well, and I'll say this too, especially like when it comes to real estate, like a lot of people don't even understand, for real estate investors, like you can put each property in its own LLC. So there's also business protections, but there's also so much more funding you can get through your business, even like not just your personal credit, but setting up the proper business credit profile too. And so the thing I tell people is I have a couple guys that are multimillionaires that I do work on the business side and on their personal side, because it's the same situation, like got tons of money. But what he found out was, as he wanted to grow into one of his businesses, he needed more liquid cash. So he needed more credit and more funds to actually get more money, because like they wouldn't allow him any more money, because they're like, okay, we don't know how you're going to even pay us back. We can see your business is profitable, but you pay yourself a certain amount of salary out of that. So there's still a lot of implications that go along with it, is you need to have some type of profile. But then I also was teaching him the importance of, you need to protect yourself from a personal liability and separate your assets as well. So there's a lot of good reasons to have credit, and especially in the realm of personal credit and business credit.
Yeah, and because you said that, I'll go ahead and throw this in so I've got all my viewers, they can hold you to it. So I would like to have you back on. We'll do another show where we strictly focus on business credit, business building. That would be a great topic as well, as far as, like investing and buying properties at LLC. So that'll be a great avenue we'll talk about. Yep. So, but getting back onto our topic of, home buyers. Mm-hmm. My second part of that question, which we kind of said a little bit about it. So, it was, why is it important to have credit? So how easy is it, or what steps do they need to do? Okay, I've got a 720 credit score now. Mm-hmm. How do I maintain it? So what advice would you give to somebody?
Yeah, so I always start with what the biggest, because, credit scores are an algorithm, right? And so like I tell people, if you don't understand the game, and you don't know the rules, you can't play the game, but you can't win at the game either, right? So for most people, they don't even know what the important factors that makes up their credit score, right? They just can say, hey, I've got a 720. I know I've got good credit or decent credit, whatever the case may be. But it's the activities, it's the patterns that generate the score. And what I mean by that is payment history is the biggest portion of your credit score at 35%. So if you pay your bills on time, or even if you can pay them early, auto payment, whatever, that way at least your minimums are being paid every month. That's the first thing. You don't want to have any late payments. If an event that you are like, hey, I'm having a little bit of trouble financially, I know this month it might be tight. As much as we don't like to, reach out and be proactive. Reach out to your creditors and say, hey, I know my payment's due on the 20th, but I'm not going to be able to pay you guys for like 2 weeks because I had a financial situation. A lot of times, just a simple conversation, they won't report that payment late. Now, some companies, they're going to stick to the rules, but a lot of times, if you've consistently paid on a consistent basis all the time, they're more apt to work with you. But if you don't tell them, they're going to mark it late if you have to. So the first thing is you have to preserve and pay your bills on time. The second biggest factor is credit utilization at 30%. So I tell everybody, if you have, say, a 720, but you're like, hey, I'm really trying to get to a 770, I'm going to get this interest break if I can get that high. First thing is looking at your accounts. Do you carry high credit utilization? 85% of people do, you know. So the first thing is start paying your credit cards down. But you have to understand when your cycle dates are. You know, it's not always based on your payment date. Your cycle dates are what's important, because that's the date that they're going to report whatever balances are on the card, and they calculate the interest for the cycle of the credit card. So
I honestly believe a lot of people, that's where they miss it.
Yeah. Yeah, because and I see it with my clients, and sometimes we butt heads a little bit because they'll pay their cards off on the due date, but then like 2 days later they'll spend right back on the card, and I'm like, hey, you're killing yourself because your balances aren't going anywhere. And sometimes, like, it's such a non-topic that it's really hard for some people to grasp that concept. It's like, truly forget about your due date, but worry about the cycle date. And I tell people, once you get your cards paid down to zero, it's even more important, because now you have 0% utilization, and
that's bad.
Yeah, anything changes in that, it's going to hurt your score. So what I tell people is, if you have balances on your card, work to pay more than the minimum, so you pay them down quicker if you can afford it, but don't put yourself in a financial bind. Don't spend the cards until you get to a zero balance. However long it takes, 4 months, 6 months, 2 weeks, don't sit back on the card. Let it sit for 30 to 45 days to report that correct balance, because there's a little bit of lag. And then each month going forward, only spend what you can afford to pay off in full by your cycle date. It's not about how much you spend on the cards. It's really the opposite. They want to see you utilizing the card, but how well do you pay that back? So somebody that has higher credit utilization and perfect payment history can also be denied a loan just because they look at it like, hey, if you're maxing out your cards right now and we extend you a line of credit, if something happens financially, you're going to be, on paper, it looks like you're strapped for cash, because how are you going to pay us back if you can barely pay them back?
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that's not interpreted into the credit scores, but lenders look at. So it's twofold. If you always keep your utilization and your payment history good, you can pretty much build your score up to where you want, and anybody will give you money. However, you can still have a 720 or a 750 credit score and be denied a simple credit card just on the amount of inquiries you have in a short amount of time, and the way that you manage your balances on your cards. So that's the two big ones that most people can directly impact themselves in a very quick amount of time.
So what else makes up a person's credit profile? We mentioned
you've got your utilization, you got your payment history, you got your length of credit, and that's really determined by a few factors. So obviously, how old is your oldest account? How long have you been building a credit profile? But what people don't realize is each time you open a new account, it shortens your length of credit because of the new account short time. So that's why you don't want to open a lot of accounts kind of back to back. You want to space them out a little bit. The second thing that I tell people behind that is, you don't want to close out any of your older accounts, because now your credit profile shrinks at that point as well. So it's twofold. Obviously, if you have vehicles, installment accounts like furniture, things like that, they have a term limit of, usually 24 to 36 months, something like that. So sometimes it can't be avoided, but you never want to close out your older credit cards. You want to keep those for as long as you have a credit profile, because they're going to have more impact long term as well as the short term. You have 10% of your score, the type of account that you have, or I got to tell people, think of it as terms of investing. You want to have a diversified portfolio. It's the same thing with credit. The more different types of account that you have, the better it helps. It's only 10% of your score, but that could be a factor long term. So you want to have a few credit cards, revolving accounts. You want to have like a vehicle installment account. You want to have a mortgage. To get to 800, most people you're going to have some of the big ones, vehicles, mortgages, things like that. And really that, there's one other, but my mind went blank. But it's another 10%. It's pretty much like your inquiries. You don't even have to have any inquiries or applying for credit, because what happens with that is kind of the same principle. If you have too many back inquiries, it looks like you're having financial issues. So they can even deny you for just inquiring. Like you have everything else good, but if you're applying too much, they feel like there's something going on financially, and it kind of puts a pause on your account. So they'll tell you, I come back in 6 months due to your inquiry. So you definitely don't want to apply for anything unless it's needed. Credit should be something that you actually build. You don't want to go open too many back-to-back accounts because then it makes you more of a credit risk or of a liability for the lenders.
So you was talking about those inquiries. So for the average Joe that doesn't know, how long does it take for those to roll off?
Yeah, so 24 months. So in a 24-month period, you only are supposed to have 1 to 3 inquiries in a 24-month period. Obviously, if you go purchase a vehicle at the dealership, they're going to run you with any lender that they have to try to finance your loan. So you can end up, say you have 20 of them from like a year and a half ago. Then from that point, they'll stay on 24 months before they fall off automatically.
So does that hinder a first-time home buyer? Like, will the lender say no, basically, for having 20 inquiries?
No, but the way it hurts them is each inquiry is 1 to 3 points on their credit score. So where is it? Like, let's say you had 20 inquiries from 8 months ago. The lender may not say no, but they may also want you to do a letter of explanation to say why you were applying for so much stuff at that time. Especially if they see either you open the account, like if you're trying to get hard loans or secured loans, things like that for money, they may want you to show why you were doing that at that time. And that's really more so the underwriters are going to want that information. But some of them could say, if you didn't get the account, they're going to know that there was a credit issue and things like that. So you definitely don't want to overextend yourself. But going into the home purchase, like I tell everybody, is the cleaner that your profile is, the less problems and questions they ask. So even though they may not outright deny you, it makes the process so much smoother for you.
Okay. So here's a question for you, because a lot of people, they'll say, oh, well, my FICO score is this. So for the ignorant, what is a FICO? What is that?
Yeah. So your FICO, FICO is one of your credit scores. There's actually 10 different versions of FICO. And so the best way that I can explain it to people is just like you have vehicles, you have Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, everybody, as far as a lender, can use a different model of the scoring model, right? So FICO is the older, more standardized for homeownership, vehicles, things like that. But when you talk about Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, the Vantage score has come about because it's a more relaxed type of scoring model. So some people started using the Vantage score to make it easier for first-time home buyers because they don't hit you as hard on late payments, credit utilization, and things like that. So everybody has multiple credit scores. You don't have just one. You have 3 FICO scores, one from each bureau, but then you also have 10 different variations of that from the 10 different credit bureaus as far as the FICO scoring models go.
And I'm glad you brought that up, that there was so many. So for the home buyer, especially the first-time home buyer, so all right, they've got hooked up with their lender, and the lenders, they're pulling their credit. So out of all these different sources, if you will, that they can, this credit score is, 680. This one's a 715. This one's a 720. Oh, this one's a 580. Mm-hmm. How do lenders find out a particular client's, this is the score we're going to use?
Yeah. So like I say, it depends on, it's going to be one form of the FICO score. And so what they do is you have 3 different scores. So what they actually do is they'll take the median score, and that's the one that they're going to use for the purchase of your home. the caveat, and I mention this because a lot of people don't know this, is if you're a couple and you're both applying and you want to use both people's income, they're going to use the median score of whoever's is lower. And to use both people on the actually, mortgage loan, both people have to meet the minimum requirements when it comes to the scores. So what will happen is, like, say me and my wife went to apply, my credit was good, hers wasn't. We couldn't include her or her income on the credit application or the loan. If we needed to qualify, for debt to income ratio purposes, to include her income, she would have to get her scores up to at least the minimum to qualify. And if I have an 800, they're going to use her minimum 640 for the loan and the interest rates.
Oh, so let's see. So let's say somebody comes to you, or I'll put myself in the shoe.
Okay.
From my perspective, I have a client says, well, Equifax says that my score is a 640 or 680. Well, I put them in contact with a lender. The lender does their deal. It's 590. Well, why? Equifax says it was this. Why is there a difference between?
Yeah. So that's going to be the difference in the scoring model that Equifax uses compared to what the lenders use for the home.
Credit Karma is another one. They say, oh, my Credit Karma score is this. Or
yeah. And like with Credit Karma, like I tell people, it's not an inaccurate score. It's not like it's problematic and it's not worth anything. It's just your Vantage scores. It's your Vantage 3.0. And unfortunately, because it's more laxed on the scores and the qualifications and the mix of what makes up that particular model score is a little bit easier. And most people see a higher score in that. So when you come to your FICO score, it just has different matrix, different percentages to make up that score. So if you have some of the bigger issues, the more collections you have, more inquiries, higher utilization, a few late payments, it's going to drop your FICO score lower than what your Vantage score is. So I tell people the only way to truly know where you're at is you can look at myfico.com. They give you, it costs like $32 a month. So there is some expense to it, but they'll actually give you your mortgage scores, your vehicle scores, your insurance scores, because you really have scores for each and every different thing that you would want to do in life. It's never going to be perfect because even with that, you can go to a lender and they may pull your FICO 8 or FICO 9 instead of your FICO 10. And it could be just a little bit different because each scores, like you could pull 10 scores and they'll all be different. Like you're never going to have it exactly the same. And you can go to 10 different lenders and get 10 different scores.
Yeah. So what I like to tell when I'm, I don't want to say cornered, but when I'm faced with that question of like Credit Karma says this versus whatever, what I like to try to tell my clients is, like Credit Karma, for instance, that's a good example to see how your credit moves.
Right.
But that's not necessarily exactly what your credit score is. So it's a good way to see your credit score moving, but it's just not your actual credit score. So you agree with that? I mean,
yeah, and I do. And I actually take it a little bit farther because I tell people, and so many people don't even know you have multiple credit bureaus or multiple credit scores from the bureaus. They like, hey, my credit score is one score, not the case. So I even tell them, like, while Credit Karma is good because it's free, it still does you a disservice because it only gives you 2 of the bureaus. So a lot of people don't even know that there's a third bureau. And since all the bureaus are independent in what they report, you could have things on the third bureau that don't show on the 2 that you don't even know about. So I believe anybody, and this is even myself, like even right now, I still pay for credit monitoring every month to know where my scores are at all times on all 3 bureaus, especially for people that want to purchase a home that know, hey, I need some work. It's even more prevalent that you actually monitor it now going forward. And while Credit Karma is good about knowing what might be happening on 2 of your bureaus, you still don't know about the third. So if you're serious about the process of home ownership, then it's worth the investment to pay, $20, $15 for somebody that monitors it. That way you can kind of see, because I've seen it several times. People get pre-qualified and then something gets hit on their credit report and they're not even aware of it, and it could disqualify them from the home loan. So you always want to be vigilant of, what's going on.
All right. So as far as your business model, not the whole thing, but how you get your clients, this is a little sidestep that come to my mind, so I wanted to bring it. bring it up. So, do people come and talk to you first, or 99.9% of your business is referral based? A lender is going to go, I can't help you, call this guy.
Yeah, so honestly, probably 90% of my business is word of mouth in some form. Now, it's depending on how they come, what their needs are. Sometimes we may do a consultation and they don't need my full services, right? It may just be I can tell them some tips, some pointers to kind of get them where they need to go. For the people that need my full services, 90% of those are word of mouth by previous clients. That's probably my biggest push for my new clients is people's experience with me that they've told somebody else. They'll have a conversation and say, hey, I know a guy. Outside of that, it does really kind of go from the lenders and affiliates and insurance agents and just different people that I work with. And then there's a fair share that follow me on social media, that follow my pages and see like that. And they could follow me for a couple of years before they reach out and are ready to, start service. But immediately it's, 90% word of mouth.
All right. And the reason why I say that is because I'm going to say this to you. Would you, obviously you want to attract as much business as possible, but for you, would you recommend for people that are wanting to purchase to talk with you first, at least talk with you first before even taking the step of speaking with a realtor or a lender? From your
and so how I come with my home buying package, right? Because now I have like a whole package that's tailored toward home purchase. That was kind of the reason that I started that, was because I was finding so many people, even if their credit's where it needs to be, they have no clue of what the home buying process entails. So they'll say, hey, I found a house, and then they'll get with a realtor. Then the realtor sends them to the lender. Come to find out they had no clue about the down payment process, earnest money, the percentage of the down payment for the program that they're wanting to purchase. But outside of that, they may not even be financially in position that the income ratio wise to get qualified for the amount of home that they found. So I do kind of recommend people at least reach out and just get the basic information, because the most important thing is getting your credit profile, getting your finances in line. So that way, when you go to the lender, you can automatically get pre-approved with the pre-approval letter. Then you can go to a real estate agent and then find a home within the price range that you're approved from. A lot of people try to do it backwards because they just think of buying a home, they think of real estate agent. But the most important factor is the mortgage lenders, and also understanding the process for the underwriters, because you can get the pre-approval and still be problematic when it comes to the underwriting process. They're the people who control the loans more than anything. So I try to explain that to people ahead of time and prepare them, because buying a home, no matter how qualified you are, no matter how much money you make, depending on the amount of home you're going to buy, it can be the most stressful thing that you go through, even people that are very diligent and have their ducks in a row. So to kind of help with that process, whether it's me, somebody like a credit specialist, or even before they run their credit, just speaking with the agent, a mortgage lender, to find out, hey, what is the process like? What do I expect from purchasing a home? Because so many people don't even know, honestly.
Right. And see, like from where I sit, it's so great that I have a slew of great lenders that, I can, when people come to me and say, I want to buy a house, well, obviously, first thing is I'm going to find out, if they're able, with some pretty basic questions. But knowing that I have great lenders that will do pretty much everything they can to help, it's not just making a buck for them. They're passionate about what they do, just like me and you are with what we do. So it's great that I have those resources to offer each and every one. And I always tell my people to at least talk to 3 lenders. I'm going to give them a list of, 6 to 10 different lenders. Talk to at least 3 of them. Don't go just with one of them, because one of them, they can help you, but this one right here might be able to help you better. So, and just being defended myself a little bit, was saying that they can come and talk to a realtor first. Because we will guide them in the right direction. Some may not. Some they're, unfortunately, like with any industry, there are some that are just transactional. But I'm very passionate about helping people, so I'm able to connect them with other people that are passionate about helping people. And then, that brings us, full circle to you and what you do, because you're passionate about what you do to help people. So, I was, interested to see if, your thoughts on should they talk to you first, from your avenue, because we all have a different perception of the industry. And, bottom line is, if they don't have good credit, then none of us, that's, you can help them, but me or the lender, we're kind of like stuck until they get their credit right. But you did mention you have a home buying package.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have time to kind of give us a little detail on that?
Yeah. So, and one thing I'll say too, when you talked about the multiple lenders, I think this is important because you have the right as a consumer that within 30 days, once you go to the first mortgage lender, it doesn't deem you any harm for 30 days. You can get as many inquiries, check with as many lenders and comparisons as you want to. So that is a very important thing, because not all lenders are created equal personally, but
Right.
Each company has their own different guidelines that are mandated by state laws and federal laws and everything, but they also have their own internal situation. So whereas one person could give you a higher interest rate, you may go over here and they give you 2% lower. So it's always good to check with that. But as far as my home buying package, it's really tailor-made for the home buying experience. So what we do with that one is we do use your FICO scores as far as your monthly monitoring with me. It's through a third-party company, but it is really, really close to what the lenders will pull. Like I say, it's not always 100% accurate, but it gives you a very good idea. Like if it says you're 640, you're probably going to be 640 when you pull it from the lender. I always tell people, because 640 for me is kind of like the starting point of most first-time homebuyer programs, USDA loans, VA loans, different things like that. But what I tell them is you want to be above that. So that's the floor. You want to shoot a little higher. So that's kind of what the program is about, helping people get from wherever they are. Doesn't matter as far as their background of their credit, things like that. We work with a time frame to say, okay, when are you looking to purchase a home? Well, right now, okay, understand it's going to take a little time, but let's say 3-6 months from now, you want to be in a home. We'll tailor make the program to try to get you there in that time frame, or at least as quickly as possible, because some things it just takes time. But the first part is it's very customized to their needs specifically. Like it's not a one fit all. Everything is taken about very simple. So when they sign up for services, we get their initial credit reports. I do a credit audit analysis. Based upon that, we'll do a Zoom call to kind of go over everything in detail. I'll break down the good, the bad, the ugly, explain to them things that they could do to help themselves during the process, whether it's paying bills down, paying things off if they need to, catching up on payments, different things like that. And then I tell them, these are the negative items that I see. This is some of the negative information that is outdated or obsolete that needs to be removed off your credit reports. And then we basically come up with a plan based upon their time frame. Each month we meet to have, another Zoom meeting to, one, track the progress of the scores, track the progress of, what are the things that they're doing. We talk about budgeting. We talk about coming up with a household budget to help reallocate some money to paying some of their credit card debt, because that's the number one biggest factor that most people have that are keeping their scores from being where they need to be. But the second part is that helps with the home loan as well, because you could get approved for the loan on conditions of paying the credit cards off. So if you go ahead and do that early, it saves you the trouble. So again, everything is geared towards making sure that they get that home approval, because that's usually the biggest purchase and the most important thing for most families to do. So that's really how it works. And then average time frames, probably 3 to 4 months on clients, depending. Some are longer, depending if they need extensive work. But it's a really unique program. It's really geared towards, again, helping them get the goal of home ownership as quick as possible.
Now, you don't have to say specific dollars, but this program, is it a one time, like it costs this much for everybody, or is it depending on what services or resources that you have to use in other words, each individual client, the price may vary?
No, it's okay. So it's really affordable. I think it's geared for anybody and everybody. I kind of do that on purpose because I could obviously charge much, much more for the services that I do. But my goal is to help as many people as possible. So I still have obviously operating business expenses and things like that. So you pay a processing fee, and then you have a monthly fee. The monthly fee is not like a situation to where it's a contract where you have to have the services for X amount of money. It's literally until we either get you to your goals, there's no work for me to do or teach you, or you just no longer need the services. So I try to do that to keep it affordable for everybody, because again, a lot of my clients, and probably 85% of my clients, are people who have come to me and they're like, hey, I really want to purchase a home, but I don't think I'm able to. Like, they're not going to be the higher income earners all the time. It's going to be people that really just want to better themselves in a situation for their family. So I try to keep it affordable, so that way it's an opportunity for everybody to purchase a home.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you said that. So is there hope for everyone? Like,
yeah, and here's the thing. I'll say yes if you want to purchase a home. It's not like some people don't desire to purchase a home. They're fine renting. Their situation is okay. But if it's an individual that wants to purchase a home or has the need to, it doesn't matter where you are, your age, your credit background, your education. Everybody can be put in position to get qualified. It may take some time, longer than others, but nobody's too far gone to where you can't, fix it and actually learn how to maintain it as well.
So y'all heard that, right? There's hope for everybody. If you want to buy a home, you can buy a home. It just may not be immediate.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing with that is, I tell everybody, if it was an easy process, everybody would do it right away. But it's not meant to. You're talking about thousands of dollars on loans. So as a lender, they want to make sure that their due diligence is done. So we may have to work harder in some instances, because one, you have to combat the lack of education. So that's the first hurdle. You have to kind of get educated on it. Then it takes time to where you have to start implementing new habits, the way that you manage and spend your money. And then as long as you do these things in a certain manner, I tell everybody, don't focus on the credit scores themselves. They're going to come. Focus on the habits, focusing on changing some of your habits, focusing on changing the way you see money, the way you see other things that go along with financial literacy. Then the credit scores will come. So it doesn't matter if you're at a 350, if you're at a 550, a 650, you can always do better and get to where you need to be.
So as we're drawing to a close, can you kind of bullet point all the services that you provide, just from A to Z, as best you can remember while you're on the spot, just everything that you can do? Okay,
so really, if you have any negative items on your credit, repossessions, medical bills, any tax liens, anything that's just a negative mark in general, collections, whether it be like accounts you didn't pay on, things that could be owed that you did pay on that's still on there, inquiries, late payments, a lot of that stuff can be worked out. That's on the personal side. I can help people establish lines of credit by building their credit properly. I teach them how to maintain those accounts. On the business side, I can help you formulate your business properly. I can help you start to build business credit accounts through tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. That's, like I say, that's important, because some people that want to buy a home may be business owners, but if they don't have their structure right, they could be disqualified for the home on the personal level. So that kind of goes into it. Like, there's different rules for business owners when it comes to purchasing a home. So I think that's, important to highlight. But really, anything and everything you can do with credit, I can help you with, whether it's education, whether it's, providing the services to remove negative items for you. I can work on your behalf to update inaccurate information. Pretty much anything and everything that's credit related, we can handle.
And you educate. You don't just do the service. You actually educate your clients.
Yes.
Financially literate.
Yes, and this is the thing that I can't stress enough, is the education is more important than the removals and work that I do in that sense. Everybody thinks of credit repair as like, oh, I want to wipe my profile clean, but that's not the important part, because even if, let's say, you have all negative information and it goes away today, you won't even have a score. You'll still, like, how can
you're at zero?
Yeah. And if you do have good things remaining, you still haven't learned anything to keep yourself out of getting back into a bad situation. So for me personally, education is the first thing that I do, but it's the most important thing that I do, because my goal is, whether you're with me 3 months, 4 months, a month, I want to teach you something so that way when you don't need my services anymore, you can go about your life, continue to build your credit. But this is the important thing. If I can start teaching people, because I'm 41, if I can start teaching other people my age about credit, we're all getting to the area where our kids are becoming adults. So now we can teach that back to our children, to where, like, if we don't learn anything, we're not able to teach our kids. So I feel like the education is the most important thing, because now you can pass that information along to friends and family, and you can change their lives by something you learned from me.
And you actually have, and I was trying to get this pulled up here, so bear with me.
Okay.
You actually have a ebook to educate. So let me get this pulled up here. So hang on one moment.
Oh, you're fine.
Well, it's not going to let me pull this up. But the Credit Goat's Guide to Excellent Credit.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So that's for, I really made that for people that had really no experience with credit. Tailored in mind for high school age, college age kids, but it really works for everybody that doesn't know really about credit. So in that ebook, it'll teach you what makes up your credit score, how to properly pay and use your credit cards, how you're supposed to pay your bills on time, different things like that. It walks you through what to do if you find out, when you look at your credit reports, if you have negative information that is not accurate, how to properly dispute that. How to properly pay collections is another big thing, because there's something called a pay for deletion process, to where that's the proper way you're supposed to pay your debt as far as what's reporting to your credit report. So let's say, for instance, you owe Comcast $350. If you just go to Comcast and pay that, that may not have a positive impact on your credit report, because they're going to update that account to a zero amount balance, but it's still going to show as a collection for 7 years. So there's a proper process how you want to pay those down, whether you settle for less or pay it in full. That's in there. It talks about your monthly budgeting. It has a monthly budgeting form. It has, basically, if you're a married couple, how to kind of combine your income, and what to do as far as if you have a spouse, how to manage your credit profile. It talks about, if you're a college student, what are some of the best practices for you guys, because you will get credit card offers at an early age now that you're an adult, how to kind of go about that. And then it also speaks about, the 13 best ways to get to an 800 score. So
yeah, there's what it looks like, folks. I was able to pull that up. There's the slide.
Yeah, and it's very informative, but it's a good start to anybody. Even if you have a credit profile now, that could help you maintain your score, build your score up better. It cuts through some of the stuff that's told that's not exactly accurate. Some of the myths, like, oh, credit cards are bad. No, this explains how you're supposed to use it, like what we were talking about earlier, how to know when to pay your credit card, what's the amounts. It gives you a calculator, how to calculate 30% utilization, for a minimum. So it has a lot of good information to help just the average person, cut through some of the mud of what is credit.
And now, is that have a cost to it, or is that a free book?
Yeah, so it's on sale right now for $6. Normally it's $19.99. So it's really affordable.
Come on.
You said what?
I was saying it's $6. People, come on, to change your life. Go and buy one.
Yeah, so it's again, I believe in trying to make everything affordable so everybody can have access to it. But yeah, it's the principal course that I use for a lot of my programs, my first time homebuyer workshops that I have every now and then. Like, everything is geared toward education. So for $6, you really can't go wrong.
That is awesome. So I also have, I'm going to put this up on the screen here. This is your website.
Yes.
So they can, anybody that may be interested in finding out more of what you do and be able to reach out to you and find out, where they are with their credit and how to get it. Because regardless where your credit is, that's what people need to know. If you got a 750, a 780, whatever, you can always be better.
So, yeah, absolutely. And I say it like this: no matter what walk of life you are, where your credit scores are, you can always, like, I've never met nobody that has a complete perfect profile. I've seen people in the 800s, but I've never met one person in my 41 years that has a complete 850. So no matter where you are, you can enhance it. You can do better. It'll help you not only save money because you get like the lower interest rates for the higher your scores are, but also the better your profile looks. Not just on the scores, but just the profile itself, cleaning things up, making it look more appealing to lenders gives you much, much more access to funding.
That is awesome. So, Wes, I sincerely appreciate you kind of sharing your knowledge, and I hope that everybody that's watching right now will actually or have taken notes and at least written down your website here, if anything else, to get their credit up higher. And like you said, because their cost of any purchases is honestly going to get better the better the credit score is. So they won't have to pay as much, if you will, especially for homes. Their interest rate's going to be lower.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you was able to share some of that knowledge with me and for my viewers. And again, I will be reaching out to you because I want to have you on again to talk about people that want to invest in investment properties, creating LLCs or anything like that. How you would using you, how that would benefit them. Setting up their business profile and all that. So look for me to be reaching out soon on that. I know you said that you got a vacation coming up, so I won't hinder you during that time. But
and like I say, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and speak to people, because again, the education is the most important thing that I can do for somebody, So if I'm able to inform and educate and just give little gems to help people's daily lives, that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, that's me, and my whole purpose for this show is, I'm a realtor, but there's so many people that fear that they'll never be able to purchase a home, or they're just scared, or people misuse this word, but they're ignorant to the whole process. But I want to inform and educate people so they can make informative, educated decisions. Because everybody should have the right and opportunity. Oh, well, everybody does have the right, but everybody should have the opportunity to purchase a home. And use people like you and your service. That's going to help them get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel the exact same way. Like I said, when I first started my business, the one thing that I've always done is I've never been the most expensive, and I never will be the most expensive, even though my qualifications allow me to charge way more. I just refuse to, because my thing is I want to be able to help as many people as possible. Like last year, my goal was 50 individuals to take from bad credit to homeownership. I missed it by 2 people. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have to turn it up a notch. But knowing that I helped 48 people last year go from bad credit to homeownership, and this year I haven't looked at it, but I've probably helped at least, 12, 15 people this year alone. To me, that there's no greater feeling than knowing that what I do has impact in people's lives. And the fact that I can go sell anything, I can go be a manager, I can do anything I want to do. But the fact that I can actually say that if something happened with me today, my kids can be proud of the work that I do when they tell people what I do. So I think that has more impact on me too, to be proud of what I do. To know that I'm helping change lives, because I can't count the amount of people that say, hey, when I come to you, I never thought that it was possible for me to purchase a home. And here I was in a pandemic buying a home. And I'm like, like that, there's no amount of money that I can earn or accolades that I can earn that could ever replace that feeling of knowing like, hey, I helped somebody get out of a real bad situation financially, and now they're actually prospering and having a really good life, and a homeowner. So I agree with you.
That's awesome. So where you mentioned, some of your awards earlier, they were from the Chattanooga area. So
Mhm.
how far is your reach as far
Oh
as
man, I think I have clients in about 19 states right now. We have one office in Tampa. I'm in the middle of opening another office in Nashville. So the reach is, not as far as some, but it's pretty good out there. I've been able to help quite a few people, not just in this area, but pretty much all throughout the country. It doesn't matter, where they're at. Like virtually, I can do everything the same thing as if you're in person. So even if you're 2 states over, you get the same experience as somebody that's right here in the city. So there's a lot of benefits to COVID, I say, because that opened up the platform of Zoom to a much broader experience. So it also changed the way that I do business as well. So it actually helped me grow my reach. But yeah, I think 19 states right now.
So anybody that works with me, Wes can help you because I'm right here in Georgia and Alabama, and soon will be Tennessee and Florida. So
congratulations.
That's in the making. So it's not like
Right.
but that's my goal. Some of my goals, I'm going to be reaching out to those areas as well. So
Absolutely.
anybody in those areas, you can help them, or somebody in Colorado, you can help them, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, y'all take note of that. That don't think that Wes can't help you just because he's in Tennessee. He can help you.
Right.
So we'll wrap this up. Wes, thank you yet again, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to having you on real soon, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, if you have any questions or need anything, man, just reach out to me. I'm always here to help. Like I say, it's not just about the money. If you have people that just need simple guidance on how they could, do a little bit things different with their credit, they may not need my services. I'm always here to help and give advice. So, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Well, Wes, you have a good evening, sir, and I will talk to you real soon, okay?
All right, you as well. Thanks for having me on. You have a great evening.
All right, that was Wes Holland, aka the Credit Goat. I enjoyed having him on today, and I'm sure you did too. So please be on the lookout because he will be returning to share a lot more information with us. So if you're watching this through Facebook, please be sure to like and share. Let's get this content out to as many people as possible. And also, if you are watching this through YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, folks.